In this episode, we are joined by Grace Harry to discuss her book, The Joy Strategist, as well as her background and where she's going next. And in part two of our discussion, we'll weigh in on Jerry Seinfeld's thought that the, quote, extreme left and PC crap has killed TV comedy shows. Hello, welcome to the Call Like I See It podcast. I'm James Keys, and rolling with me today is a man who for years has been an aspiring force tactician, Tunde Ogunlana. Tunde, are you ready to share with us the tricks on how to avoid falling for the dark side today?
No, that's not what I'm going to do today.
Keeping it a secret?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, no. Well, luckily.
Pay for that.
Oh,
yeah,
man. Well,
you're going to have to subscribe for that one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Well, luckily today we got somebody who is willing to share some important strategy today. Also joining me today is a special guest, author of the 2023 book, The Joy Strategist, former music industry executive, and a woman who is a certified mastermind when it comes to joy, Grace Harry. Grace, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So fun.
All right. Now, before we get started, we asked if you enjoy the show, please hit subscribe or like the show when you're on YouTube or your podcast app. By doing that, it really helps us get the word out as far as the show. Now, we're recording this on April 30th, 2024. And we have a special treat today as we're joined by Grace Harry, author of the 2023 book, The Joy Strategist, an all-around awesome lady. Now, Grace, this book, Tunde and I have both read. It's an amazing book. So can you just get us started? Could you tell us what it's been like to bring The Joy Strategist into the world?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for reading it, both of you. I mean, that is really the point. And the joy for me is sharing what I've learned and what I've experienced with others. And just living a life that seems so aspirational on the outside and feeling what I really felt like on the inside made me realize that we're all living in weird disguises of life and sometimes not as happy as we portray in the world. So I wrote this first for my children because your kids do as you do, not as you say. And I'm someone who's, I follow a lit path, not a life path, and always moved around. So I wanted them to get to know me. And then some friends of mine really pushed me to publish it. And I was very proud and excited, but a little heartbroken too, realizing how many people do not want to grow. How many people are very comfortable with the devil they know and are more afraid of having a new experience, even if there's potential for growth and happiness and joy and the things that we say we want, would still rather cling to the bench. So that was very sad and heartbreaking in one way. And then I had to realize I cannot lean into spiritual egoism. Everyone has their own journey and their own path, and just leaned into what I'm teaching is teaching me and continue to go down that path myself.
Interesting. Well, there was one question I was dying to ask, and because a book like yours, the concept of joy, and yes, asking people to move a little bit outside of their comfort zone is in many respects, it's what people say they want, but it's, as you pointed out, it's almost a big ask, in that sense. So, what has surprised you the most about the reaction to the book that you've seen?
What surprised me the most is that we all joke, like, oh, my inner child, and I want to, being childlike in different ways. But we really all are that 6-year-old still with a bigger shell around us. Mm-hmm. And so our hearts are fragile. We're interested and we're happy to work out and be in pain or be in a new adventure and be uncomfortable. But as soon as it's around our hearts, people close and clamp that thing down instantly. Yeah. And so that was...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please share.
Well, no, that was it. I thought that was an interesting metaphor from the book, actually, in terms of, kind of that your youthful self. And then as you grow, and then even well-meaning people help you with this kind of putting that armor around your heart. That was a really excellent metaphor. And then finding joy is in many respects, you have to look back at who you were before a lot of that happened. To, not necessarily that you have to become that, but that is a key or a kind of a good way to access the things that brought you joy before you locked up, a large part of yourself to protect it from the world, so to speak.
Well, it's actually essential. That's a thing, it's been a little complicated for me during the pandemic. And then recently with the release, there's real big stuff happening in the world. And joy seems so frivolous and light. And yet I have clients and friends. I have a very good friend, 16 times New York Times bestseller, incredible, was, built a media empire in his first career out of college. And yet, as soon as he's in a big love experience, he's burning the world down because it's still all back to feeling the safety of opening up in that way. And so we do all these things and, addict ourselves in ways to numb out, whether that's food or alcohol or drugs or religion or people or so that was interesting to see that we will do anything to keep our hearts from feeling because those feelings connect to things from a younger time we didn't feel in control and we had a big emotion around our heart and we don't ever want to feel it again, even if our manifestation, our dreams and our goals is through that work.
Well, you said the key word there, which you noted in the book as well, is control. The illusion of control. And we kind of know that we don't have control, quote unquote, over our heart, or at least part of us does. And so we put that aside and try to live in spaces where we do feel like we exercise more control. So, I think that you definitely did a good job in the book in kind of illustrating how that happens, and then the path that that for the brave to follow who want to kind of move away from that. Now, we're not going to go through the whole book. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying you can't move away from it. It'll get you eventually. It'll lean into something you care enough about to do the work. So yeah. For sure. So now we're not going to go through the whole book, but there was one piece about it that Tunde and I both were like, oh, but wow, we really enjoyed it. And we really appreciated the metaphor as well. It's a sports metaphor from, basketball. And you talked about the starting five and how, the kind of the people who that you hold close in your life that do something for you or that are a part of your development or your that part of your life and how this may change and so forth over the course of different times in your life. Can you speak more about that? And I know, Tunde, you had some interesting thoughts on that as well, but I want to kick it to Grace first and then have you jump in on the starting five. Yes. Again, back to ourselves. We deem ourselves the least important over anyone else and often. So I put it a sports metaphor because we're so passionate about sports and we care so much about the players and we understand how intense it is when they pick the best positions for winning the game, but we're also all in the game. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't realize we're amateur adults building our small to giant empires in all the ways that we feel is our duty on this planet, but we don't put teams around ourselves, you have only as much opportunity as the people around you. Mm. And yet we pick people from either we don't want to hurt people's feelings, so people we've known a long time or our partners, friends, but we don't think about, what do I need? What does James need? What does Tunde need on a daily basis? I need this kind of experience. I need to feel this way. And then really putting people around us that help us continue to aspire up our particular mountain.
Yeah. Like within a level of intentionality, like intentional about that.
Yeah. Who's your starting? Your starting five, like who are the players who are close enough to you to help you win, to explain things to you when you're going left or right, to not see some bigger plays around you, to not be able to understand the dynamics of the other team. There's so much to that metaphor that's really true for our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'll jump in here because I thought it was great, Grace, and I've got it here in front of me, by the way, for everyone watching on YouTube. It's a great book.
So you were over there reading the book, man. Yeah. We got Grace right here.
No, look at all these markups and highlights and stuff. That. See, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Wow. So yeah,
there you go.
I couldn't have done that in 5 minutes. No, but it's a great, metaphor, analogy, allegory, whatever we can call this comparison to real life in terms of this sports description, the starting five, because a couple of things here, and you said some things already that I want to come back to, but just on this specific topic, because I'll quote here from your book, you say, their spot on the starting five is earned, not assumed.
Yeah.
And, as a guy that played NCAA basketball and all that, it's true, right? And in sports, we don't assume that the Miami Heat or the New York Knicks or the LA Lakers, that the people on the starting five haven't earned that spot. We all know, and we expect that of sports, right? And I think that it's a great point because I would have never thought of this on my own. So for you to kind of put it in our minds that, hey, our support network in our personal life, And I guess we could translate that to business and other areas. But if we just sit with your personal life, like you said, and I think the personal life is very interesting because as we are all middle-aged here on this show, we have the length of experience of having accumulated various relationships over our journey. So I think like most of us, I've got my friends from the elementary school days. I might keep in touch with one or two of them once a year or two. We catch up and make sure we ask about each other's parents and families. Then I got a different group from high school. I got a different group from college. I got people I met when I was early in my corporate career, my early 20s that I'm friendly with. I got people I met in my 30s. I got people in my 40s I met. So just like a real starting five in sports, sometimes people are rotated on and off. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's the part, Grace, that I appreciate about this part of the book is, number one, we don't know how to be our own coaches to rotate these people on and off. That's not really something you're born knowing. You know what I mean? And that becomes emotional. What was that?
Say that again.
No, I said that's something we're not born knowing, how to pick and choose, how to be our own coach. You know what I mean? And to say
and that we should do that, like that we should be, like,
maybe this person needs to be, the sixth man of the year, like they're still a good friend, but I'm not going to count on them to be on the starting five anymore. And by the way, maybe this person has been on the bench for the last 20 years. They've stepped up recently. Maybe I lost a sibling or a parent, and now all of a sudden they're coming out of nowhere. And it's an interesting thing, and I hand it back, is part of the ability to recognize that also takes time. Yeah. And that's where I think, I heard someone say an expression when I was younger, and I didn't get it until I got to this age. But I was like 30, and this lady that was in her mid-40s at the time told me, you don't know who your real friends are until you turn 40. And I remember when I turned 40, I thought about that, and I understood that that's probably a little bit more extreme than reality. But I understood what she meant, because you need time in this journey of life, too, to learn these things that, people come and go, but they don't necessarily got to get off the team. But some people do got to get off the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the continually earning it part is a part. Like the spots aren't grandfathered in. Like you have to constantly be evaluating that. And the other piece, Grace, I want to throw it back to you. But the other piece I just wanted to mention explicitly that I think it really works, kind of the analogy really works in that in a starting five. And you made this point in the book that it's not, the expectation isn't for everybody to do the same thing. Like the expectation is that you might have, again, with the basketball analogy, you got a point guard, might be that their person's job might be to set you up, or you got a center, their person's job might be to pick you up, when they need to rebound you, when you slip, and they're there to help. And so, but asking the center necessarily to bring it up and to be the setup person may not be the best way to go. Now, setting aside, modern basketball and positionless basketball and everything, but it's just like the traditional.
Yeah, we like 90s basketball over here where they're actual post players,
Then you must be happy about what the Knicks are doing now. They finally, in 45 years, have to.
Oh, we made it to the Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks look good.
But I'm from New York. I can't help it. But James, Tunde, I think that's the real point. This book, The Joy Strategist, that's not me. The Joy Strategist is our own hearts. We just haven't realized that we should take them off the bench and they need to play. But we just don't understand that particular player, because that player is all feeling. And so, maybe we're scared of AI and Allen Iverson, but he is going to put his full passion and heart into it and go on that journey. And we might not see how that journey fully plays out until the end of the game. But that's really the point there. And it's picking a team that's going to help remind you that you have an inner GPS, that it's safe to trust that we've got you. You can play full out. You can go hard, and we got you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really what's important is, when Tunde was saying how some people play and some people are on a bench, and then you bring in new players, but the coach is our hearts. There's nothing, our brains only keep us safe. So if we don't learn how to let that be the coach, and we learn to feel it, that feels good. And we used to be in a society of feelings. We used to, before, a lot of the newer religions came in with thinking and strategy and morals, we really did live in a concept of creation, the elements, nature, elders, because we were living in survival with nature. And I'm going to go off the deep end here, but you get my point. So
no worries. I believe in the hunter-gatherer lifestyle too.
but you know what? What they had to do is they had to intuit. You had to feel, is there a bison about to kill us? Is the other tribe coming close? did I have that reaction with James? And I felt that his tribe was uncomfortable with our tribe. So we have to get back to trusting ourselves enough that we do that in sports. Yeah. We trust that in sports, the passion, the primalness, and audible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We learn to, that's part of the development is you have to like, in a sense, you do the repetition enough that you can learn to just see the game, let the game come to you and not be thinking through the game, and that's part of mastery of playing a sport is to do it enough that you don't have to think about doing it.
Let me ask a question, Grace, though, because this is great. And you said something earlier that I wrote down because you talked about that we're all still our 6-year-old selves, which you're up my alley with all this. I do believe based on what I've learned being an armchair kind of quarterback on psychology, just the reading and stuff is that, most of us, I would say all humans are hardwired like 80% by their 10th birthday or whatever the number is, and most of us are dealing with baggage from our childhood. So if we understand that most people are in a state, like you said, of fear, and without realizing it, that's what I mean. Like a lot of this can sound hokey to people listening that maybe haven't gone on some of the journeys you've gone on and have read the books, and understand some of this interpersonal kind of spiritualness and potential conflict that we all deal with. So how would you advise people that are experiencing some sort of fear, anxiety, because they know that something in their life isn't right? Like we're talking about, they've got a starting 2, they don't have the 5, or they've got a starting 5 and everybody's in the wrong position, or they just got the wrong players on the team. So how would you advise, but they're scared. That's what I mean. Like maybe they grew up in a home where they weren't taught how to speak and, and resolve conflict verbally and things like that. How would you advise someone to start approaching, this feelings?
Yeah, great question. Well, first, there's 3 ways to approach it. And again, know thyself. But every single one of us has one area where we are doing it. It's like when I started working with this life coach, I couldn't understand what she was saying in her dialogue. It all seemed weird. And she got me to understand that sometimes we go places where we don't like the feeling, or as the young people say, the vibe. We don't like the vibe. So as woo-woo as all this sounds, that. You go to someone's house, someone drags you to an event, you're like, not for me. So that's energy. So if you can just take that little piece on as energy, then are you not having a wonderful personal relationship life, but you're killing it in business? Are you great at your job? Are you a great parent? Do you do well with your community? So you do have areas where you figured out a strategy that works. So if you can take a moment, and so when I work with the life coach, she said, it's parenting for you. And for me, it was because I was raised by 2 teenagers. I didn't have a lot of specifics. So I was able to look at a blank slate a little bit and say, okay, what's important to boot camp a future adult? So I would tell everyone, start with the areas of mastery. And yes, a lot of us don't think we have any, but if you get up in the morning and go somewhere and are able to bring food back, you've mastered something. So to look at those places and write it down if you need to. How do I do that? What are the steps for me to go outside every day and make enough to bring food back? Okay, let me take that and look at that. And how do I set up my relationship business the same way? My family business the same way? I want to volunteer. I don't know where to start. Well, let me take those same steps. It's also to start to trust yourself. A big part of the fear thing is that when we're young and we lean out in these big experiences, we get slapped down by life, by people, by thoughts, by well-intended humans who giving us their version of reality.
But they're imputing, they're passing their fear on to you. Like you pointed out, this could be well-meaning, but they have learned and grown to be afraid of taking that risk or to showing your kind of inner self and not putting up your representative. And so they're trying to warn you to, hey, if you do this, bad things can happen. And so, then it ends up just training you in the same way that they've been or socializing you in the same way that they've been socialized.
And also, can they train you? It's like the same older people who want to give life advice also come and call my kids and ask them to fix their phone. So what I'm saying is that we don't know. There's no intermediary that really understands your heart and your needs, but you. And, we often will be kinder to a boss or kinder or better to a lover or a spouse or a kid. So it's also that. Like I work with a lot of clients and tell them, they call and they'll say, I don't have. Okay, so what would you say to your kid? Your kid came to you, they're in this scenario. What would you say to them? What would be your advice to them? And we often know it. So what my point is to this great question today, where do people start? Start with the tools you already have. Start with the things you already know and start to train your inner GPS. You go into Uber. I once was in an Uber and the guy was arguing with me that this wasn't where I was going. It was in front of my mother's house. I knew that the GPS was wrong, but they were so believing in that GPS that it was unwavering. But that's what we have to do with our hearts. We got to train ourselves to be our coach, to be our own GPS, and learn from the steps and the things and the ways we already have some of these skills.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I'd add to that is being able to recognize the fear as well. Because a lot of times the fear that we live with is that restricts kind of our inner self isn't debilitating fear. We all can see that, but it'll just be that it's almost like guardrails that we put up that says we're not going to go outside of this quote unquote corporate comfort zone because it's out there. It's something that is beyond what we understand already, or that we, beyond the risks that we're used to taking. And, and that's something that sometimes can be a barrier to us finding joy, and so but it's not necessarily being able to recognize that it's not necessarily the fear like, oh, I'm afraid of heights. And so, but it's like, it's just the fear of maybe meeting someone new or speaking up in a certain situation.
That's right.
that could actually just be keeping you, if your joy is here, it's just kind of keeping you going over there because you've put the fear in between, because you've learned that.
And if this was sports, you'd be yelling at that person. What are you doing? Don't laugh. Be fearless. Get the ball. But we don't do that.
The play was run for you to go over here to the elbow, to the free throw line.
That's
Why
right.
don't you keep running over there? Yeah, that's good.
So don't look at fear. Look at courage.
Yeah.
Right? The word cur, the Latin root of cur, is your heart. So it's courage to tell the truth of your heart. So look at these examples we have, sports or people that reach out and take big risks. We don't have a choice. And even people who say, like you were saying today, oh, it's not for me. Life will do it. Like it'll give you an illness. It'll cancel something or it'll remove something from your life. So we got to get on that journey. Every entertainment, every movie, every play, it's all selling the same thing. We got to get courageous to live the life we want to have.
As you're saying it, the idea of having children is a great analogy to what you're saying, because I used to hear the old joke that I know I didn't invent. I think it's really old, which is if you wait for the perfect time to have kids, you'll never have kids. Because think about it, everyone, I don't have enough money. I need a bigger place and all that. But then, at least for us men, when our wife looked at us and said, I'm pregnant, I never talked to James about it. My stuff was unplanned. Then it's just like, what do you mean? Oh yeah, we're pregnant. Okay, I got to go figure it out. You know what I mean? And so you're right. When backed into a corner, a lot of times people do find, like you said, that courage. And I think that's a great point to bring that word into it, because if we focus too much on the word fear, you could manifest that to continue with some people. So yeah, to give the balance of courage, I think is great.
Yeah, and
that life coach taught me that word. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add naughtiness to the show real quick. A life coach told me what that is manifesting. She said, because you want to manifest, but you haven't done work yet. So you have all these other conversations and belief underneath. I want to be a billionaire. Oh, I don't deserve. I'm not worthy. And all of these things that we have to untangle to actually do that.
Yeah.
So if you live in fear, then that's what you're doing.
No, and I'm glad also that courage came in, because that one of the points that has been made to me for a long time in my life is just that courage is not the absence of fear. Like courage and fear can both be present. Just because you're courageous doesn't mean you don't have fear. It means that you can acknowledge the fear and then continue to move in the direction, either directly through the fear or in a way that you're not letting the fear shut you down. And so, yeah, the bringing courage into the conversation was very important with that, because again, it acknowledges, like, you don't need courage if there's no fear. Talking about courage acknowledges that there's fear, but acknowledges also that, okay, well, but you're going to do what you believe that you need to do despite the existence of that fear, and going above that. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's an analogy that I love is when you take kids to Great Adventures or amusement park. Two kids will go up to the same roller coaster. One will be in deep fear and one will be in deep excitement. Same emotion.
Yeah.
It's just the story we're putting on it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And so, well, I do want to, before we move on from this topic, I wanted to ask you, this was such I would consider it, like a success in terms of you being able to convey a thought, a kind of mindset in a book. So, what's next? Are you on to the next book, or like what do you do now? You had a long career, like I mentioned before, you've been an executive in the music industry, but so where do you see yourself going now?
Thank you, James. The book was a little heartbreaking in that people didn't want to do the work. And so I dialed it back and realized, oh, the issue is intimacy. Like most people spend 90% of their time talking inside their head and not outside to the person they're talking to, because we're so afraid to speak and say the wrong thing. And we think that any intimacy is confrontation. And yet during the pandemic, I had so many clients that were building their business and their big dream. All of a sudden, we're stuck in their house next to the person they picked for a big life inside a small experience. And they were like, who the hell was that person? And so intimacy became a real focus. Like, how do we get safe enough to actually listen to ourselves, or deserve what we feel like we deserve, or say the things that we're scared to say? And then if you don't say those things, I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, but another conversation's happening. I'm building a whole nother thing here. I'm going to react on that. You're going to react on that. And now we don't even know each other, recognize each other anymore. And I'm not just talking about intimate, like a husband or wife or a partner. I'm talking about someone you travel with, a friend, your children, your parents. Yeah, and beyond. Anyone you're talking to around ever, we're intimate right now. We're having a very intimate exchange. Yeah. So I'm writing about that. During this, I did a lot of podcast interviews, and this incredible executive at Anscape Disney, Mary, said, you need your own podcast. So I made a Joy cast. I did 5 episodes. Nice. And it was fun because I don't know why I know famous people. It's not like my thing in life. Some people are like, I want to know famous people, and that's great. But I seem to know a lot of interesting people in the world. And so I was like, oh, I want to Players Tribune them and have intimate conversations that people don't hear from these people. So one of the first conversations I called Bun B from UGK, because I'd had a talk with him years ago about finding partnership. So I really love those conversations. And I want to continue talking to people like you, James, and you, Tunde, about things that they're not about your core competency. They're about your heart and on the ways that you've learned to figure that out. So those are the things I've been focusing on that are fun. Tunde is my personal chamber of commerce here, commerce in Florida, and has introduced me to so many people.
I'm going to get a business card with that.
You need that. You are that.
Hey man, you got to work your way. You got to work your way under the starting 5, man, or maybe the 6, man.
Well, I'm clearly the personal chamber of commerce, so I'll say that's a small forward over here. I can go. I can go different. Yeah, see, I can go on the wing and shoot a 3. I can slash inside.
For real. It's funny. I don't ever leave the house unless I'm going. Every time I go anywhere, my partner's like, oh, did Tunde introduce you to someone? But he introduced me to someone named Bonnie, and I love art and activism. And there's no coincidence that, we had in all public schools, common schools, used to have huge, thriving, robust music and art programs. And if you look at a lot of our greats that are 60 and up, they got a lot of either from church or from school. They learned an instrument, or they are in a choir, so there's real advocacy in art. And so that's a big passion of mine. It always has been. When I worked in Atlanta, I worked with the High Museum to bring this Kara Walker experience there. So I've been literally stalking Bonnie. Like, can I work at the museum? Can I do something here? What can I do? It's hilarious. So I feel like just being more entrenched in that. I wrote this book because I'm a 10th grade high school dropout. My mom moved to Haiti when I was 16. And you needed some accreditation to go talk to kids in schools. Thank God. We don't want random people in the school. So a book does it. So just moving in high schools and middle schools and college tours, like, I just want to talk to people. I want people to really understand their authority.
Yeah. No, that's, you got to share. Awesome. You have perceived and kind of, I think, digested a lot, and from a living standpoint. And so it's almost your duty to share, like, now that you've really, gotten a handle on that.
Muhammad Ali has a quote that service is the rent you pay to live here on this planet. And I think that's true.
That's it. That goes back to, like you guys were saying about the 2 kids going on a roller coaster. One's full of joy, one's full of fear. That kind of quote from Muhammad Ali is a type of where, we can choose kind of the reason that we're here, right? And some people can choose it that way to figure how can I serve others and be here, and other people can say how can I see what's over here and take it all for me. And I think it's that challenge. And the last thing I'll say is I really appreciate, and this is where I think, again, this to James's point, we don't do book reports on this show, so people need to go and get your book and read this stuff. But I really enjoy the way you kind of bring it back to having a person look at themselves. So the two things I just point out, one from the beginning of the book when you wrote out your own eulogy, because I've seen that before as a kind of like, I've even been in some executive coaching programs where they tell you to sit down and picture yourself at your funeral and like what's going to be said about you. And I think that's something that's kind of humbling that we don't do all the time, is say, okay, well, because that's kind of going to be your message to the world. And then the last one was near the end of the book is, would you date you? I think that's a profound question, because I used to ask that as a business owner, like, would I hire myself or would I go work for myself? And, but I never thought to ask, like, would I go date myself? Because that's a whole different personal set of questions and way to look at it. So, I mean, I hope that I would say, really thinking that, yeah, I would date myself. But if you really felt like I wouldn't date me, you probably got to, continue to look inward and figure out why that answer is that way. So I wanted to, just let the audience know that the book is great for those kind of gems and enlightenment, for your own self.
I also wanted to say, it's not even like, would I date myself? Am I hot? It's really more that I find that people.
Yeah, I didn't assume it was that.
No, I know, but people do. Like, I'm hot. Like, yeah, I'm blah, 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 But really what's interesting is I'll get people to write these long lists. It has to be this. They have to be that. And then I always start with, okay, great. Get on checking off each one of those things that you also are in mastery around, because we magnify each other. It's like, I meet these women all the time, recently, these executives who are now, they're like, men suck. And, but they don't want to acknowledge that the person they're attracting is them. Mm-hmm. Because they haven't done enough work to not be that person, in truth. So it's that too. It's
like, that's interesting.
You want that person, so be that person.
Yeah. No, then you mentioned in the book, energy attracts, like energy attracts. And I found
but as you guys identified, that takes courage to be that person. So it's the whole.
It does.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You gotta, a lot of times people talk about what they want. But I actually explained this I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday. Like, what you want is really defined by what you're willing to work for, and so implicit in what we're talking about now is, okay, well, these are all the things that you say you want. Well, do you really want them? If you really want them, then you will put yourself in or you will make yourself someone who draws that or who brings that out. If those are things you really want, and so that's kind of the gauge on, because you could say you want anything. You could just, oh yeah, I want this, I want that, yada, yada, yada. But what are those things do you really want, to the extent that you're willing to actually do something in order to try to bring to yourself?
That's right. And look at, honestly, I have all these weird stories around money. And when I look at my childhood around money, I had a single mother who's created all these businesses, doing the very best she can. And she was killing it. You know what I mean? She's 16. She had a child, and also she had a Black child in the 70s. It was a hard thing to be navigating. And so we learned that, okay, when we had money, we went out and big dinner and did all this fun stuff. And then we didn't. So it's like really learning, self-love and all the stuff people talk about. It's also about financial literacy. It's about mental literacy. Self-love is not just I take a bath and I'm hot. It's really taking good care of yourself on every level. So yeah.
Cool. Well, we definitely appreciate, we appreciate you bringing this book into the world, and we appreciate you joining us, on this show. We're going to wrap our part one of our discussion right now. Thank you to the audience for joining us. Part two of this week's discussion will be coming up shortly. So, please check that out as well. And Grace, again, thank you very much. And we hope that you join us on part two. I
hope so. Yeah, please have me. I'm coming out.
Yeah. Oh, great. All right. Well, then that's a treat for the audience. Then we will have Grace with us on part two as well. So, we'll see you then.